You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, they are listening to the Mix Official. Welcome to the big show, as always. For over, 20, you guys are done. No more clapping. Thank you. I was just going to go on the whole show there. For 16 years, 2,800 episodes of being the Chris Voss Show, most amazing minds on the show. Be sure to refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. We can't do it without listener support, and we're greedy that way. We want more listeners. We're greedy. What can we say? That's why I give you all this great content. Anyway, guys, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com, Facebook.com, YouTube.com/Chris Voss. That'll get you everywhere you need to be, no spaces.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Anyway, guys, we have an amazing young man on the show with us today. We're going to be talking about his books and insights and experience. His book is entitled Clean Energy Exploitations, Helping Citizens Understand the Environmental and Humanity Abuses that Support Clean Energy, out June 4th, 2021, by Ronald Stein and Todd Royal. We'll get into it with them, find out the deets of what they're talking about and all that good stuff. Ronald is a engineer, U.S. citizen, energy consultant, speaker, author of books and articles on energy literacy, environmental policy, and human rights, and founder of PTS Advance, a California-based company. He's a columnist of op-ed articles on energy literacy at Americaoutloud.news. He is the co-author of 3 books that focus on energy literacy and internationally published columnist and speaker. Welcome to the show, Ronald. How are you, sir?
Chris, glad to be aboard.
Glad to have you as well. Give us .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Probably just Google me, Ronald Stein. I'm everywhere. Energy literacy, and I'll pop up because I'm all over. I've written weekly articles on Americaoutloud.news and 3 books, and I'm everywhere. Just Ronald, just Google me.
All right, just Google him, folks, and there'll be links for him, of course, on the Chris Voss Show. You can find there. So, Ronald, give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your new book?
The book Clean Energy Exploitations is talking about all the exotic minerals and metals to build the EV batteries, to build wind turbines and solar panels, are coming from developing countries like China and Africa. China controls probably about 90% of that. And these countries have no labor laws, no environmental laws. So we're exploiting people who have yellow, brown, and black skin to mine for this stuff by hand. And the environmental degradation is atrocious. But we in the wealthy countries think that's okay, and it's just oblivious to what's happening there. The cover photo that we picked for the book is a photograph from Africa with a military guy with an Uzi overlooking a family mining for cobalt by hand.
Wow!
And it's really unethical and immoral to think about that, but we're so focused on going green, we'll do it at any cost to other people's lives. Chris, it's interesting. People ask me if I have an EV. I say no, and they say, "Would you buy one?" I say no, and they say, "Why?" And I say, "For ethical and moral reasons." And they say, "What the hell do you mean by that?" and I tell them, I'm not willing to financially encourage China and Africa to continue exploiting their people with yellow, brown, and black skin, or continually environmental degradation on their land. Ironically, this country, the wealthy countries that want to go green, they're providing financial subsidies. So they're providing financial encouragement for China and Africa. Continue exploiting your people, continue the environmental degradation on your land. We're going green.
Yeah, they used to have a term for this because you cover your book is reminiscent of a lot of pictures that I've seen where they have these huge open pits in Africa for like diamond mining, gold mining, and these rare earth minerals that go into the phones and the electronics and the you see that they have guns. These people are just working to the bone. They're in horrible conditions. Probably don't get lunch breaks, basically. That's probably not something I should laugh at. But, they don't have an HR department, evidently. And, for a long time, they went after this stuff with the diamond industry, and they termed them blood diamonds. Remember that? I think it's still a thing, isn't it? And so now it's is your diamond a blood diamond? Maybe we need to bring that sort of concept to, electronics and EVs and have more of these discussions about, what are we really doing? I remember we had the same discussion with phones. Foxconn in China had people jumping out of buildings to kill themselves. So often making iPhones, they had to put up nets. Maybe there's a better way to fix whatever that is than putting up nets.
Most people don't realize the Earth has 8 billion people, and we populated from 1 to 8 billion in less than 200 years.
Wow.
And that happened right after the discovery of oil. Oil by itself is useless. It's black tar. It's crude. And until you can build a multi-billion-dollar refinery and they heat it, they beat it, and they crack it, and they do all these crazy things to it, and you get all these oil derivatives that today we have 6,000 products in our daily lives that are made from fossil fuels and different fuels for jets and cars and trucks and ships. And, the space program is basically petrochemical based. And those 6,000 products, like I say, they didn't exist 200 years ago. And of the 8 billion people, the thing that most people don't recognize is that 80% of them, which is more than 6 billion people, they're living on less than $10 a day.
Yeah.
We in the wealthy countries, all the green movement that's going on is only by the wealthy countries. The solar panels, wind turbines, EVs, that's only the wealthy countries. The other 6 billion, they're the ones suffering. And that's what the book is about, the clean energy exploitations.
Let me ask you this. We talked before the show about greenwashing. We can get into some of that. But yeah, I've often wondered, if you see an EV catch on fire, it can burn for days. And the amount of gallons, I don't know if you've ever looked at that, but the amount of gallons of water it takes to put out an EV comparatively to a normal car fire is extraordinary. Have you ever looked at that?
Yes. The EVs, when they ignite the EV batteries, it's a chemical fire. Mm-hmm. And they really can't put it out. All they can do is cool it down. And it takes a vast amount of water to do that. And so there's a lot of restrictions on where you can park EVs. We've got some close friends in Calgary, Canada, that live in a condo complex with underground parking with all the inclement weather they have. But if you own an EV, you're not allowed to park it underground.
Yeah. Because when those things light up, they light complex. Up.
Yes.
Yeah. They'll burn the whole complex down. It says here in 2022, the CTIF, this is from Jalopnik, if anybody wants to pull this article, it requires the U.S. Fire Department to use 24,000 gallons of water just to get, that's a lot of water. I mean, just imagine, your gallon of milk in the fridge, 24,000 of those to put out one single EV fire. That's a lot of water. It's half a lake or something. I don't know if it's half a lake, but I'm just
most of the earth is covered with water, but most of it's salt water. We really have a limitation on fresh water to waste it on putting out an EV battery fire. That's ridiculous. I
mean, you really I don't know if you break this down in the book, but when you really look at all the components that they have to source, make, manufacture, and imagine there's, I don't know what you call it in manufacturing, but manufacturing churn or burn. There's got to be stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor, right? In making something that leftover parts, things that are jagged, they have to cut off or something. And so there's probably still lots of parts that end up hitting the manufacturing floor that never make it in the car that, one of those families mine for that you mentioned. Exactly. And I've often just wondered, because I've had this argument with friends because I have a lot of my Silicon Valley friends, they love EVs. They loved Elon for a time. And And I'll have this conversation. I'm like, but when it comes to not only running that car, but the batteries, the battery acid that's in them is corrosive as hell. You can't just throw it in a landfill. You got to deal with it all. And, is the car really, is that really worth the $300 a month that you're saving in gas? Because it seems like, number one, the production of it costs a lot more. And then the disposal. I mean, these cars eventually, don't get driven anymore. So then who's going to break down all the batteries with the battery acid in? It's one thing that a car has, like my car has one battery, just the thing. I mean, if you want to dispose of it, you take it down to the battery shop maybe and give it to them and stuff. But when you got a car that's literally the whole underneath of it is a giant freaking battery acid and all that stuff. I mean, that stacks up after a while.
It does. There's really been no plans for that either, because, if you build a refinery, your plans have to include reclaiming the land back to its original condition. But there's no such plans for how do you dispose of wind turbines? How do you dispose of solar panels? How do you dispose of EV batteries? Right now, there's 340,000 wind turbines in the world, and their life expectancy is 20 years. So we're probably halfway through some of their lifespan, and when they conk out, they just dump them in a toxic waste dump.
Yeah, I've seen the landfills of the big. I want to call them big fans. I'm stuck on that. the windmills, the big fans, the oversized fans. You can get it all at Home Depot. But you're right. I've seen the pile up of them. I do know of at least one organization that is trying to figure out ways to recycle that stuff, but even recycling, there's a cost to it. There's probably more oil you're going to use to break stuff down or shred it or compact it or, regardless of what you're doing. I've seen people turn different, I think, plastic or something into tires, but the amount of expense and cost and manufacturing that has to go into shred the tire and all that stuff, it's really questionable. We talked before about the show about some of the things that oil does that is kind of, and I'm really vague on remembering this correctly, so I'm just trying to cue you up, about how oil, there are things in products that are oil, but windmills and other sort of clean energies don't serve those sort of components in products. I'm just kind of going from memory, so I don't know if that...
Ironically, Chris, pretty much everything is made from oil. The oil derivatives.
Explains why I'm so oily.
Even the fiberglass. The EV vehicles, 100% made with oil. The tires, the wires, the insulation, everything. It's not, made with oil is the battery, a 1,000-pound battery. But to get all the minerals and metals, you need all the mining equipment, to process it after they've, dug it up by hand. And so, oil is everywhere. So we have, like you say, in California, we have a mandate to get to EVs. But California's a big state. Let me give you some numbers. California's got 400,000 miles of roadway, and we got 30 million vehicles. Now, the vehicles are providing a lot of fuel tax, like almost $9 billion, which is used to maintain the 400,000 miles of roadway. Governor Newsom wants everybody to drive an EV. So if everybody's driving an EV, there'll be no fuel tax.
Yeah, who's going to pay for the roads then?
Now you got heavier vehicles carrying up 400,000 miles of roadway with no money to maintain the roadways. What's going to happen? The charging rates are going to be more expensive than the cost of gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they've talked about that. How do we charge for that? And for a long time, there was a huge discount on taxes to own an EV, which kind of seemed a little duplicitous, maybe, in my mind. I mean, what do you think? Do we need to get rid of all these variations we're doing, or are they okay to stick around? We just need to be honest with ourselves about what really works and what doesn't, maybe. I don't know.
The variations, what do you mean variations?
Like wind turbine, the variations of oil, so wind turbine.
Wind turbines and solar panels only generate electricity. The politicians refer to them as wind and solar energy, but they're not wind and solar energy, it's just wind and solar electricity. Because, we have 6 ways to generate electricity. We can do it by wind, solar, coal, natural gas, hydro, and nuclear. But all ways to generate electricity all have the same components. They got wires and insulation and computers, glass, air conditioning, and all those pieces and parts are made from the oil derivatives we get from oil.
Yeah.
So if we get rid of oil, Chris, we get rid of electricity. We're going back to the 1800s.
Oh, cool. We can get whale oil and whatever else they used to do. Some
And
guy
lose a couple billion people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, electricity is overrated anyway, folks. I mean, come on, it's 2026.
In reality, take a look at it. Take a look at your house, when you go to the hospital, go to the airport, go to the shopping center, whatever. Try to identify one thing that a solar panel or wind turbine can make. They make absolutely nothing. They can
You
only
make a
generate
good
electricity.
point. There's a lot of people that are like, I'm clean energy and I only buy things that are clean energy. And, I bought my Subaru, it's clean energy. There's a lot of oil that went into making the seats and all the stuff that's in there. There's a lot of plastics. A lot of it's, I don't know, too many Subarus that, are sustainable where you can recycle them into something else. Imagine the steel maybe, or some of the engine. But it's, is anybody recycling seats in cars? I don't think so. You just put a seat cover over it if it's an old Subaru.
But everything is made from the oil derivatives. Now, when you take a barrel of oil, probably about 80% of it is used to make fuels, the jet fuel, the gasoline, the diesel, bunker fuel for ships, and special fuels for the space programs. But only about 20% is used for making these oil derivatives. And that makes all the products. Like I said, there's 6,000 products that are in our daily lives that didn't exist 200 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we take for granted. And fertilizers. It's fertilized. Without natural gas, you have no fertilizers.
Oh, wow.
That accounts for feeding half the world.
Yeah. If you don't have any fertilizer, too, good luck having some crops. we kind of saw the interruption of fertilizer because Ukraine, back when the Russia war started, I didn't even know this. A lot of the fertilizer came from Ukraine that was being shipped around the world for planting and growing. And, you need some fertilizer to get that food.
A wind turbine can charge my iPhone, solar panel can charge my iPhone, but they cannot make my iPhone. This is 100% made with oil. And that's true of anything. I mean, anything in your, like I say, your house, the hospital, the airports, you name it. But, today we're so used to, going to the airport. And, here in California, we're a big state. We got, 9 international airports and 45 military airports, and they can't exist without oil because the fuel is needed for the aircraft, and the aircraft is made with the products made from oil. So we're a different society than we were 200 years ago. And if you really want to go green, we're going back to the 1800s, and lifespan back then was like 40 years of age. Today it's 75 plus.
Yeah.
The medical industry didn't exist 200 years ago.
Yeah. If you live longer, if you have that internet, you live longer.
Yeah. And you get all the vitamins and everything else.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, I've had this argument with, I've been a Democrat. I'm an independent voter now, but I lean Democrat. And I've severely questioned this. I've argued this with my friends who are Democrats, and I've been like, I don't think that's really as clean as you think it is. I mean, I mean, great. There's alternative energy. There's
an analogy I like to give people. If a restaurant opens up and they're serving bad food, no one's going to go and the restaurant's going to close down. It's pretty much the same thing with fossil fuels, because if you don't use the products, there's no need for fossil fuels.
Yeah.
If you're not using gasoline and diesel and bunker fuel for the ships and everything else, but no one's going to come up and say we're going to close all the airports, we're going to close the hospitals, close the shopping centers, and stop using the products. You stop using the products, there's no need for the refineries. And the interesting thing about the United States being one of the wealthy countries is we're putting a lot of pressure on refineries and shutting them down. California's got 2 that are already shut down. But in Asia, in China and India, they've got 180 refineries that are coming online.
Oh, wow.
They'll be basically providing the fuels for the United States. I mean, it's becoming a national security risk because, I look at California, we have like the Port of LA, there's 1,800 vessels that come in every year. And Port of Long Beach gets like almost 10 million container units arriving by ships. Oakland gets, cargo ships and merchant ships and cruise ships, and they all require fuel. And that fuel, if we don't have refineries here in America, the fuel is going to be coming from China. And, California is quickly becoming a national security risk for the entire country because California, we have a lot of oil here, but we can't dig for it. With some of the restrictions, about 50 years ago, we were about 95% self-sufficient, and we had 5% of the oil we needed, which came from foreign countries. The production of oil for the refineries is on a terminal decline, and today we're importing more than 70% of our oil. And with refineries closing, the good news is we'll be importing less oil. The bad news is we'll be importing the finished products.
Oh, wow.
From offshore refineries.
Yeah. I guess people really don't think into, you go look at Target, and I know guys who have wives that they go to Target twice a day, not once a day, twice a day.
Okay.
And of course, they buy everything on Amazon. There's, I'll hear people say, oh yeah, for clean energy. And then you'll see the shit they buy on Amazon or Target or, and their cars too, and in purses and stuff. Oh, this is, whatever free. And you're just like, nah, I'm pretty sure there's crap that was in there to make it. Like, and they own a house too. That's usually, houses are probably filled with all sorts of oil-based products and stuff. And you're just like, no, I think you're just really naive about how much ingredients go into what it takes to make these products. And, if you really want to live off grid and, not have any oil-based products, you're probably going to need to go get a log cabin in the Montana and start writing manifests all day long.
Just to give you numbers, like in California, jet fuel with all the airports and the military, we're consuming 13 million gallons of aviation fuel a day.
Wow.
And that fuel is all made at refineries. And if the refineries aren't here, it's going to be made at a refinery somewhere. And it could be in China. They might be running our airports. Take gasoline. I mentioned we have 30 million vehicles in California. We're consuming 42 million gallons of gasoline a day.
Wow.
And, that's got to come from somewhere.
You got to pay for it.
Yeah. And so, like I say, we're going green by, stopping oil production and over-regulating refineries to the point that they're shutting down. It's not cost-effective for them to operate. So we'll be importing not crude oil, we'll be importing finished products. So there'll be more ships, coming in to the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles and Oakland up in Northern California.
What about some of the other variations of what people claim on why clean energy is good? So like the ozone layer, stuff like that. What are some of your arguments in the book about some of these claims that are being made and how effective they are? Or do you make them?
The confusion is the use of the word energy. They keep talking about clean energy. Wind and solar is going to provide clean energy. But no. Wind and solar can only generate electricity. It can't make anything for society. And so that's the difference.
Yeah. What about the ozone layer stuff? Like a lot of them are like fossil fuels burn a hole in the ozone. And I don't know. It could be just all the farting, really, by me.
Probably from the cow.
I just got a puppy, and he farts like all the time. He's like nuclear farts because he's eating like God knows what.
Shoot that dog.
Yeah, he's probably cutting a hole in the ozone layer right now.
But CO2, people keep talking about that, and it's like you say, greenhouses, they inflate CO2 to make plants grow faster. And the astronauts, their CO2 levels is like 5 times more dense than ours that we're breathing. We're a fossil fuel society, and like I say, the 1 billion people that existed, 200 years ago really weren't too well developed or primitive, and horses and that type of thing. And it's changed everything. Like you say, we didn't have hospitals 200 years ago. We didn't have airports 200 years ago. We didn't have any telecommunications, any appliances, electronics, sanitation systems. They didn't exist. Heating and ventilating didn't exist. And again, it's all based on oil to make it.
Yeah.
And then you need electricity to make it operate.
Yeah.
And so
what are some of the remedies? Go ahead.
I think the real method for electricity, if you want electricity, especially with the demand today for data centers, their electrical requirements are huge.
Yeah.
And if you want electricity that's clean, emission-free, reliable, continuous, it's going to be nuclear.
They want to build nuclear here in Utah, up in Brigham City. They want to build a nuclear plant, which if you know anything about Utah, I'm not sure the people here are bright enough to pull that one off. But I guess we'll see.
Take a look at the Navy. Navy's got a 70-year track record, safety track record. All the submarines are nuclear powered. All the aircraft carriers are nuclear powered. For 70 years, zero fatalities.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot of talk about how dangerous nuclear is. All the incidents we've had, there Chernobyl and that type of thing, nobody was killed from it, and it was an abnormal operation.
Chernobyl?
Yeah.
I believe there was people that were killed from Chernobyl. Yeah. I just want to clarify that. I'm pretty sure there was. I can Google it if we need to, but yeah.
Okay, do that.
Yeah. But, I mean, but it's not to discern that it wasn't a horrific event. Yeah.
You know, the fact with wind and solar, they only provide intermittent electricity to begin with.
Yeah.
You have to have favorable weather conditions. And, you know, you can't run a hospital on intermittent electricity. The surgeon would have to check the weather report before he scheduled surgery.
Wait, I think my hospital has to do that. No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, we need continuous and reliable electricity. Wind and solar is intermittent electricity. It's not reliable. And, you know, you can't run computers on intermittent electricity.
That's true. I've tried that.
Keep shutting them down. Yeah. So,
they always want me to pay my bill every month. It's really weird. Otherwise, they turn off my electricity. And I'm like, my computer won't run. They're like, you got to pay your bill. And I'm like, damn it. I knew there was a catch
But, you know,
somewhere.
think about it. You know, today there's, 50,000 aircraft in the world that didn't exist 200 years. You know, there's 50,000 merchant ships that didn't exist, hundreds of years ago.
And besides, we need besides, we need oil for P. Diddy's Freak Fest. You know, I got a baby off of that. No, I'm just kidding. In your book, do you talk about steps that we should take to, I don't know, make people smarter and aware of this? Because like I said, I've argued with my friends that have EVs, and I'm just like, I just look at that freaking battery tank, and I just go, that doesn't seem like it's going to melt down well in a landfill. That's just going to dissolve, and 5 years you won't be able to find that EV battery in that landfill.
I'm just trying to stimulate conversations because during the conversations, I in my articles I very seldom use the word energy because it's so confusing.
Yeah,
because they keep talking about wind and solar energy, but wind and solar is only electricity. And when you take a look at fossil fuels, coal is used to burn to make electricity. Natural gas is used to burn to make electricity. But crude oil is virtually never used. You never burn crude oil. Crude oil just goes through refineries and they break it into usable products. But
I mean, do you feel that we should get rid of the alternative things we're trying, or maybe we should just keep trying to use them and maybe innovate them to make them less dirty? Or what do you propose we should do?
I'll tell you, the world movement is toward nuclear power plants and SMRs, which are small modular reactors, because these 6 billion people on the planet that don't have electricity, they could benefit from a small modular reactor. They could, it's a cookie cutter to serve like 100,000 people. Right now, they're developing maybe around the world. South Africa is really pursuing it. But right now, there's operational in China and Africa, have a small modular reactor. All the effort has been focused on electricity. There's been no replacement proposed for fossil fuels.
Yeah. And we have a real problem going on with, I don't know if you've studied this or if you've measured it, but how much of a problem do we have it seems like we're trying to suddenly just overnight get all these AI data centers up and running, and they're going to suck all this energy. People are complaining about their energy bills, and they're wondering
suck the electricity, not energy.
Yeah. And they're wondering if. Thank you. I'm clearly not the professional here. I'm just an idiot with a mic and a podcast. But that's why we bring you on the show. So thank you for correcting me. But, suddenly people are seeing their electricity bills go up, and they're like, are we paying for the billionaires to get rich off of AI? And how I know we're under energized maybe for these electrical centers. What do you see? I mean, it sounds like we do need to embrace nuclear for them, really.
It's out of whack because here in California, we shut down San Onofre nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
There's a power plant up north that generates about 2,200 megawatts. And right now there's proposed data centers that will take about 7 times as much as that nuclear power plant can generate.
Holy crap. And if you're across the nation, we're developing all these things.
That's just California.
Yeah, it's California.
Because every other state has got their plans too. And where's the electricity going to come from? No one knows. But, another thing to think about is Earth has a lot of natural resources. Coal, oil, lithium, cobalt, et cetera, et cetera. And how long are those reserves going to be there? And there's different estimates. I mean, like crude oil, which you need to make all the products in our daily lives. But there's estimates that the reserves are 100 years, 200 years. And with technology changing, like fracking, you find out different ways to find oil. But if we can extend and improve our efficiencies and use less of it, just because it's there, we don't want to use it. But if the reserves are going out to 500 years, maybe 1,000 years, Chris, this 4 billion year old planet is going to be here with or without us.
Yeah.
And, our grandkids, if they're accurate about 100 or 200 years, it could be our grandkids' kids or whatever are going to be experiencing some of the shortages. But the reality is we just have to be very conservative. I don't want to go back to the 1800s. That's lifestyle.
Yeah.
No,
come on. Whale oil?
No.
I want to be one of those guys who walks around and down the street and he lights up all the oil lamps for
we really
oil.
have to be conservative and focus on keep improving efficiencies.
Yeah.
And if we want to generate electricity, we spend a lot of the world's resources to build these 300,000 wind turbines that's just generating electricity. And we could put that much effort and basically developed nuclear. If you want continuous, uninterruptible electricity, it takes the least amount of land, the least amount of earth resources, and the longevity is much, much longer than wind or solar. So, we have to take a look at the bigger picture. And politicians, they can baffle you with BS. And but some of my articles really intended for CBS, NBC, CNN, because this is an election year. A lot of people running for mayor, a lot of people running for governor. The presidential election will be coming up in a couple of years. And I don't want to embarrass these candidates, but what's your plan? You want to get rid of oil. What's the backup plan? If you have no oil, you have no hospitals, you have no airports, you have no military. What's the backup plan? So there's got to be conversations. And which is the most efficient way to produce the products? What's the most efficient way to produce electricity? Because we spent a lot of resources just to build wind and solar, which is only temporary electricity, weather-dependent electricity.
I think you're right. We need to have more of an honest, meaningful conversation about it because, regardless of politics, I look at it and I've had lots of arguments with people about this EV thing. I don't know that I would ever own one. I think if I reached a point where I would own one, I would be one of the last. And part of it isn't just, part of it is I'm a minimalist, so I try and save money and I try not to buy shit I don't need, and, car for me is just one of the most worthless investments of all times. Unless you're buying like, I don't know, Ferraris or Mercedes, you're going to put it in a showroom somewhere or whatever, and it's going to appreciate. Cars are like the worst investments now. And, I switched to a minimalist, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago after 3 BMWs. I may still buy a Porsche, but it'll be used Porsche. And I just, you buy new cars and they're just the worst investments ever. And I'm a single guy too. Like guys who are married, they got to take their kids to school and shopping. Their wives got to take the car to shopping and whatever she does and job and things. I don't have any of that. I just have 2 dogs at home. I don't have to leave the house. I have groceries delivered. I have everything delivered pretty much because I'm lazy. As, if I want to go on a date with a clean, nice car, I just rent a car. And the amount I pay for rental cars is far cheaper than what I pay to own a car between insurance nowadays and the price of stuff. And so it's pretty wild. But, to me, it also seems like a huge waste. I mean, there's so many people that they just buy these cars for $150,000 now, trucks are and shit. Then they drive them for a little while and they throw them away. And, maybe we should, I don't know, look at recycling these things more often or something. I don't know.
We really got to focus on efficiencies and conservation. For efficiency, I think as an engineer, me being an engineer, the hybrid is probably the most efficient vehicle because it doesn't need, quote, electricity charging. You're using the fuel to charge the battery. So you wind up getting, better, quote, mileage. And you're using less electricity and basically less fuel because the car runs on the battery, but if the battery's low, you got the fuel is on board. It's just charging the battery.
Yeah. And the other argument I've had with people with EVs is they're like, I save $300, $500 a month in gas and stuff. And I'm like, but you still use electricity, and electricity largely, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert, is made with coal. So it's not really clean energy if we're burning coal to fuel the electricity that goes into your EV that's supposed to be clean. And I'm like,
we got a comical thing because California, we're so focused on getting rid of coal and that type of thing that we shut down all the coal-fired power plants, but we import more electricity than any other state.
Yeah.
And we import electricity from other states that are making their electricity with coal-fired power plants. But that's on the other side of the border of California.
We're probably paying a lot for it too, usually. I mean, when you buy something from somebody else. Yeah, I mean, these are a lot of the discussions I agree we need to have. And I mean, it's not a political thing. This is, there's a logic and reason to what can make sense about these things. And I've never bought the whole, especially that argument that it takes coal to make electricity. So electricity is what charges your car. So you're not really saving that much on gas and pollutants or whatever you want to call it, dirty fuel, basically.
But just like right now, the regular vehicle has a battery, but the battery is used to really operate all the electronic stuff in it. And if you had a hybrid, it'd be doing the same thing. It would operate all the computer stuff in the car. It will also provide enough the fuel to charge the battery to run the car. And then you don't need charging stations. And you're not really concerned about, going a couple extra 100 miles.
Yeah.
There's a charging station. If there's no charging station, then you're really screwed.
Ron, as we go out, also give us a plug for the website that you write for a lot. Tell people how they can get to know your articles over there and find out more about what you're talking about regularly over there.
Yeah, Americaoutloud.news, just Americaoutloud.news, and just Google that plus Ronald Stein, and it'll pop up all my books, all the articles I've written every week. The articles I get published every week, and I co-author with people around the world because it's not just my opinion. I'm trying to get opinion of other people. So I co-author with people in Japan, South Africa, India. And when the articles get published, they get reposted around the world and probably get exposed to 500,000 people. It doesn't get exposed to the politicians. I don't think they can read. But if they did, we'd have more conversations.
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, it's something we just need to understand, and people need to understand. They can't just buy the BS that's out there in the marketplace. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Chris, you have a fantastic day.
Thank you, and thanks, Manas, for tuning in. Order up his book wherever fine books are sold, and it is an important conversation we need to have. I mean, you see what's going on in China and other developing countries where they're trying to mine for a lot of and I think it's worse than gold and diamonds what they have to mine for, because the stuff is I don't think it's safe either most times, is it? Bring up some of this lithium and crap.
Fatalities, they don't care about fatalities of young people.
Yeah, and even the air, probably, the contaminants that get in the air and all that stuff. And it really is kind of an interesting thing that we do in developing countries where we're like, hey, we don't do that dirty stuff. We make you do it, and then we enjoy the benefits and
exactly
enjoy being poor still. So
yes.
And it's really weird. And then we get after these countries. That's the other hypocrisy I see is we'll get after countries like South Africa and be like, oh, you guys need to be less dirty. You guys are polluting the hell out of everything over there with your industrial thing, just like we did 80 years ago in our industrial revolution. You guys are going through yours and bad you. You were like, and they're like, that help you guys get less poor, and we're poor.
But everything is oil, because everything they make gets on a ship.
Yeah.
And ships come here. And like I say, just here in California, the West Coast, the East Coast, I don't know what the numbers are there, but, we had, almost 10 million container units arrive by merchant ship here. And then merchant ships got to get fueled up to go get more, from
bring the EVs over.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you very much for coming to the show, Ronald. We really appreciate it. And
just folks, remember, Americaoutloud.news and Ronald Stein, and you'll become energy literate, and you'll be ready for the quiz.
Hey, you'll pass the test. We always put one at the end of the show, folks, so make sure you do that. Order of the book, folks, wherever fine books are sold. Clean Energy Exploitations, helping citizens understand the environmental and humanity abuses that support clean energy. Out June 4th, 2021. Thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and all this crazy place in it. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, Ronald, great show there.